Hey babes, it's Jenni from ChronicBabe.com, and you're here with me today for another AWAP Wednesday. If you haven't been with us before, AWAP stands for As Well As Possible. And in all things, that's what I want for you, to be a kick-ass babe no matter how sick you are. And I know that you can do it. Today we're answering a question from a fellow chronic babe, and she writes, what do you do when someone compares your situation to severely disabled people? Someone close to me has been comparing my family with paraplegics, wheelchair-bound people, etc. My 3 kids and I all have chronic conditions: osteoarthritis, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, and heart problems, just to name a few. This friend would listen and try to understand what it was like for me and my kids, and I thought that she got it. But then she would make comments I didn't know how to take. Like, she would say that because we weren't wheelchair bound, could talk, feed ourselves, etc., that we didn't have true disabilities, we just had issues. So I found myself trying to explain to her how debilitating our conditions are, and also that there are varying degrees of illnesses and that we all need help, just at different levels. I put up with her behavior for about 3 years, but did on many occasions tell her that she was making me feel uncomfortable, hurt, and that I felt like I had to explain myself all the time. Then one day, upon sharing with her how low I was feeling, she reacted in the strangest way by acting how surprised she was, and then expressing that she knew exactly how I felt. But she is healthy, and so are her 2 kids. This was the last straw for me. I was very hurt and decided not to see her again. Well, that's a tough question and a tough decision to make. So let's break it down, because I think this sounds like a wicked case of comparisonitis gone completely wrong. When I fall into comparisonitis, it's usually because I'm looking at somebody I admire or maybe even envy, and I start comparing myself with them. And instead of looking at the traits that we share that might inspire me to feel like I could be successful like them, I will instead look at all my failings and all the ways that I am lacking compared to them. Boo! No, we don't want that. Now, this woman you're talking about, it sounds like she's kind of flipping and reversing that approach. I think that at heart, she's trying to do the best that she can do, but her advice, her condolences, her commiseration is really misguided. She's trying to help provide perspective, but I think she's doing it wrong. Now, it's one thing to help provide each other with perspective, and sometimes that means thinking about how much worse things could be, not so that we go to that super negative place, but that we remind ourselves of what we are able to do today, of what is working today. Sometimes thinking about worst case scenarios does help put things in perspective. But when we use comparisons to minimize your experience or gloss over your struggle, your frustration, your pain, your depression, whatever it is you're facing, that does not help. That is not a helpful approach. It sounds like you made a good, if maybe difficult, decision to stop spending time with her. It sounds like this was a relationship that was not feeding your soul, and I'm sorry that you had to make that decision. And when we make comparisons, especially when someone says like, well, you could be in a wheelchair, I've heard that so many times, and you know what? I know a lot of really super rad people who use wheelchairs and like excel at life, and I admire them hugely, not because they are able to do it in a wheelchair, but just because they're freaking awesome. So when people say, well, you could be in a wheelchair, I always bristle at that because I know a lot of people who do exceptionally well in a wheelchair, and that's not the worst case scenario I can imagine. Also, it's not right for her or anybody to tell you how to define your experience. If you have conditions that are considered a disability, if the conditions that you have themselves are not quote-unquote a disability, but cause you to live a life that is extremely limited and you feel like you are disabled, then that's your choice. You get to choose how you define your identity. When someone wants to deny how you label yourself, that is trying to pick away at your identity, and that is not cool. That is not her place. It's no one's place to tell you how to describe your experience. Listen, I am a lifetime writer. I love language, and I love discussing and debating this issue with other people with chronic conditions and illnesses and disabilities. I think it's fascinating to learn how different people describe themselves and categorize themselves. And yeah, sometimes I'll get into a little debate with people about it because I feel pretty strongly about certain things. But in the end, no matter how I feel or anybody else feels, it's your choice. You get to choose how you define yourself. Now, I hope you don't define yourself with your illness or your disability, but I'm just saying when you're in discussion with people, anytime someone picks away at that, not cool. Comparisons are almost always an unhealthy thing to do, but if I could encourage one kind of comparison, it would be this. If you are in need of inspiration, I encourage you to seek out amazing people who excel in spite of the chronic conditions or disabilities that you have. And look for the conditions or the qualities that you have in common with them that might help you excel in the same way. Now that's a really positive way to compare yourself. That's not even really comparison. That's about commiseration and connection and relating to someone and using that to further yourself. Those qualities that you identify in common with someone who excels in spite of limitations, those are the very things that are going to help you be the most kick-ass chronic babe you can be, to craft a life that you love in spite of illness. Okay, that's what I've got for y'all today. I really hope this was helpful. If you have a question that I can answer for you on a future AWAP Wednesday video, put it in the comments below or send me an email. There's a contact page on the website. You can send an email, comes right to me. If you liked what you saw here, I encourage you to check out the rest of our videos. They're all at chronicbabe.com, or you can go to our YouTube channel. There are more than 50 videos, almost 7 hours of me yakking at you. And if you don't want to miss a thing about Chronic Babe, I really encourage you to sign up for our free newsletter. Almost 4,000 people subscribe. It comes out every week. It always includes links to a new post or a video, helpful resources that I've found, any news about Chronic Babe, like I'm working on the book that the Kickstarter funded, and that's going to be coming out in July. So I don't want you to miss any important announcements. Head over to the website today and subscribe to our newsletter. Okay, go out there and make it a totally awesome day. And until we meet again, be AWAP. Mwah. Beep. Okay, that's what I've got for you guys today. I really appreciate, I hate it when I say you guys, when most of my audience is women. What's up with that? Been living in Chicago too long.